Without showing an ounce of mercy, women were tortured with malicious and heinous punishments. The screams of those punished women were enjoyed by the people as they put hot iron rods on them. These punishments were inhuman and atrocious. Have you ever heard of the violent punishments women received in the olden days? Do you know the brutal methods used to punish them? On number 7, we have vaginal belts. In earlier times, sexual freedom was heavily denied to women. They were seen as the property of men and held authority over them. Husbands lacked trust towards their wives and locked their vaginas using an iron belt whenever they were away from each other. The women were not able to remove the belt, and they had to wear it till the husband came back. This belt was called the virgin belt, and it was worn by almost all women whose husbands went out to fight for their country. On number 6, we have iron prongs. Women's bodies were highly desired by men. They thought that women hold the power of beauty and sensuality. Whenever men wished to punish a woman, they destroy the beauty and modesty of the woman. A tool was invented to deform the breast of the women. In this way, they would be undesired by men. 2 large iron prongs were used to cut off the breasts of women. This tool was heated and put on the breast of the woman, and then pulled out to rip off the breast from the woman's body. There were other forms of punishment as well, which were less physically violent but mentally draining. Have you heard of Shrews' fiddle? On number 5, we have a Shrews' fiddle. Rigid irons were used to construct this equipment. It traps the neck and both wrists of women, making them unable to move an inch. They cannot fight back or protect themselves from men. This equipment was widely used in Germany and Austria. It was also known as the neck violin, as it was built in the shape of a violin. Sometimes they attack a bell to the Shrews' fiddle to make sure that everyone knows when the punished woman comes near them. The double fiddle was an extension of this tool, where 2 women will be punished together by trapping them with 2 neck violins and making them stand face to face. From Anglo-Saxon times to the late 17th century, several women were drowned and killed as a punishment for theft. It was one of the simplest punishments, as in other cases they used hot iron rods to kill them. On number 4, we have facial disfiguration. Promiscuous women are caught by men during middle age. The men then proceed to disfigure them by cutting their noses. In the olden days, men wanted to hold superior power over women. To show their superiority and to remind them that they live in a patriarchal world, these men cut the nose of women whenever they found the women to be involved in promiscuous acts. This punishment did not apply to men. It was solely made for women. The power of women's beauty was destroyed by performing such a heinous crime. Women suffered heavily from this kind of evil punishment. What comes to your mind when you hear of drunk coats? On number 3, we have drunk coats. Those women who were caught cheating on their husbands were made to walk through the crowd with no clothes but just a barrel covering their bodies. The barrel has 3 holes, where the woman can place her hands and head. This concept of a drunk coat came into existence to show other men that women were ungrateful and untrustworthy. On number 2, we have the Walk of Shame. In Season 5, Episode 10 of Game of Thrones, you can see Cersei walking with no clothes. The Walk of Shame practices in ancient times was depicted in that episode. In Walk's Shame, prostitutes were made to walk with no clothes through the market. Men criticized such women openly when they were forced to do the Walk of Shame. It crushes the soul of women. It was one of the cruel punishments a woman could get in the olden days. Have you watched the movie Saw? On number 1, we have the saw machine. Well, guess it was inspired by the next punishment we are going to talk about. In earlier times, women who were caught in adultery or women who were alleged to be witches were cut in half using a saw machine. The woman would be forcefully made upside down, and 2 executioners take out a big saw to cut these women in half from top to bottom. During this time, most of the blood will be pumped into the brain. The executioners would decide what kind of excruciating pain they want to inflict on the woman. Sometimes they would to speed up the process, but most of the time they slow the process by stopping the punishment after they cut down the abdomen of the woman. Death would be fate no matter how slow the process was. Women were put in a state where every move of theirs was watched. The times have changed, but still, they struggle to hold their ground. Which punishment did you find the most brutal? Do you know any other violent punishments which were practiced in ancient times? Let us know in the comments.